Welcome back to Crossout, where patch 0.11.50 is now live. This is sort of the summer patch that brings back the Steel Championship alongside a lot of changes to the game, so let's see if we can cover all of them. First of all, we will be looking at the Steel Championship. The Steel Championship is the 3 versus 3 football mode where you have to score in the enemy's goal with some cars that you've gotten with a Skinner and a Spike that can sort of push the ball around, and it's a pretty fairly simple game mode, and I personally quite like it. Brings in a lot of new deco here for us. All of these new aerodynamic headlights, bubble ball, we've seen this one before. All of these are sort of old stuff that you could win back in the day before we got this new shop where you can actually trade your league points, more on that in just a sec, for different sort of rewards. We have a bunch of new paints. All of these are super dope. The Cyan was a limited paint during the last championship, so we finally getting that one as well, and nice to see all of these new paints. And also the CK is coming back for those of you that are interested in this. You buy this with league points, and the way that you get league points is simply by playing the event. When you play the event, you will league up every time that you will get a better league every time that your rating goes high enough, and you will be able to, with each of these league, acquire yourself some of these Steel Championship badges. And for those badges, you'll trade them here. So fairly simple system, and there are plenty of leagues to go through, so you can get quite a lot of points. I have not calculated on this yet, but I am actually not sure if we can obtain all of the rewards this time, so you'll have to craft whatever you like. The rest of them you can always buy if you want to stack all of it. Also a new map, the Ravager's Foothold has now released. The Ravager's Foothold we just saw for a little bit during the testing of this on the test server, so we have a bit of footage from there before, but we can now go and play it actually in missions, and this will also be available in brawls like the Big Black Scorpions. It will be a Bedlam map, and it will be available for custom battles as well. So super nice to see that. And in the garage here, let's go and have a look in the garage, because there's been a few changes to the garage. First of all, we have a Steel Championship theme going in here right now because of the Steel Championship being active. I knocked my ball away, but you can go here to this table and you can accept the challenge. I'm actually not sure what kind of challenge we do accept. Okay, it's just respawning the ball, I suppose. I don't really know what this does actually, but if you score some points here, let's see, score a goal, there you go, we get plus 50 points. I do not know if there is any purpose with this or if it's just whatever, but you know, it's fine. Besides that, also the garage has had some changes to it. As you can see, this area here is just a tiny bit more open than it used to be. So a little bit of changes to there. Also the landscape around the test area has been improved just a little bit. I don't really see the big difference, but I don't know if something may have been bumpy or glitchy or something like that. But at least they have changed some things to the terrain. And also some clearance between ramps. I also do not really know what this means, but I take it that it is some sort of bumping that was going on. At least that's what I suppose. So you know, it's tiny things that don't really have a massive impact, so we're not going to talk too much about it. Terminal 45, one of the raid maps, has also been completely redone. Looks so much better now. They have tried to update the environment objects on the map, the scale and the appearance of these. They have updated the environmental effects on the map and improved the sound effects on the map. Another thing that has been changed is now the fact that points are awarded for the destruction of enemy drones. This is quite new because you prior to this didn't get any points, but now you actually get points for destroying drones and turrets. And also you will get points for destroying missiles and mines and stuff like that. And the owners of the Barrier IX gets points for every 100 points of damage that the shield has absorbed. That's the word I'm looking for, I think. Yeah, definitely absorbed. And now, this is a change that I know a lot of you people have actually been wanting. I'm quite sure you will actually get a veteran container with each level of prestige in the engineers faction. I do kind of miss the fact that us that already have a bunch of levels in here are compensated for those levels, and maybe just give us some of these, because I don't see why we are not entitled to get these. But it's, you know, it's just blue items after all, so it's not super interesting stuff. And you can also get different sorts of prestige level here from the pandemic pack, which is super nice. The biggest change of this patch though is two things. First of all, the cabin mass reduction buff or bug has finally been fixed. This has been on the way for so long. If you have a cabin that has mass minus 17%, but you still max out the build, well, then you will find yourself in a situation where your build will be overweight, so to say, because the build will be limited to whatever mass that you otherwise would have on the cabin, because the perk or the upgrade just simply did not register. So the result of this would be that you would be overweight in battle and your build would be slower than it was supposed to be. This has, after many patches, finally been fixed, which is something I know a lot of people have been asking for. Honestly, no idea why it took so long for them, but just super happy to see that it is actually fixed now, because it was a very harsh disadvantage in combat. The second part of, I think, some of the biggest news is the fact that Leviathan Clan Wars is now coming back. Leviathan Clan Wars is back after more than 2 years of hiatus. The way that they're going to do it is that this will be active for 1 week, and every session for this week until next Thursday will be Clan Wars with Leviathans in it. The way that this works is that the group leader will have his Leviathan go into battle instead of his regular build. So do plan who takes the Leviathan and who is the group leader whenever you play, but as per standard, it will be the group leader, so just time it so you don't end up with an art build in Clan Wars or something like that. It probably will happen to some people, but it's it's gonna be fun, in my opinion. At least I am super excited to see what this will bring for us, what this will mean for the combats in game. And I think it's nice with an alternative mode in Clan Wars just for a bit, and it's here for a week to gather statistics on how this will actually affect the game and the game engine and stuff like that. So try to enjoy it. It's just a week and have some fun with it. At least I know we are gonna have plenty of fun with it. For raids, we now have another new faction. The Dawn's Children has joined the lineup of enemies that you can encounter in raids. So we now have Firestarters, Dawn Children, besides the Nomad Scavengers and Lunatics that has been here from the beginning. So plenty of new enemies, and I know that we will probably see the Steppenwolves join in the patch after the current one. So that one is also coming up. And for Invasion, there is also a test for the effectiveness of Leviathans. If a Leviathan was destroyed too quickly before, you would sort of end in a situation where, a lot of people were abusing a copper raid system that would make sure that, you could just farm copper in less than a minute. And this was quite a profitable method, and everyone just sort of spawned in 50k Leviathans with nothing but fuel barrels, meaning that you would often not get points if you were not quick enough to get there. This was sort of a thing that they did in order to try to prevent this. But now what they've done instead is that if the Leviathan is actually destroyed within a couple seconds after the respawn or spawning, then the Leviathan will be replaced by another one that will actually give you points. So the Leviathan kind of just respawns, I suppose, if it gets taken down too quickly. Onto some weapon buffs and nerfs, because there has been a lot of talk about what is sort of happening to the game mechanics and the game engine and all that stuff. But let's talk about some of the buffs and the nerfs to the parts of the game. First of all, Punishers will be getting a new perk, or are getting a new perk, have gotten a new perk, actually, I think is the right word to say. The Punisher now lets you shoot 40 times, and if you hit 40 consecutive shots, well, then your damage will be increased by 100% for 5 seconds. If you do not hit, then the counter will count the other way. So it counts from 40 to 0, but if you miss, then each shot will add 1 tick to that instead of removing 1 tick. So that's basically how this works, and it will also minimize your spread, so you will be able to focus fire a bunch with the Punisher the second that you hit the perk. Next to that, the Breaker has also gotten a buff. I'm not 100% sure that I fully agree with this buff, but it is what it is. They buffed the damage by 6% on the Breaker, and besides that, gave it a new perk that states that if you take fatal damage to your Breaker, well, then your Breaker will not fall off, but will become invulnerable for 1.5 seconds. And after that, the weapon will be able to be taken down, basically, or 1 second, not 1.5. The cooldown for this is 35 seconds, so if you do take fatal damage to it, well, then you can cloak up and you can go hide for 35 seconds, you can come back, and you will be able to once again get your weapon invulnerable for a full second. While I do think that this is a great perk to some extent, because often you'll find yourself losing Breakers on long range maps before you're even into the combat, I do also believe that 6% damage increase for the Breaker, which also already deals quite a substantial amount of damage, is quite a lot. I mean, look at that, 18,876 compared to some of the others here. People are kind of stocking up quite a lot right now because of the Leviathans, for the people that has money to it. For it. Actually, holy crap, the porcupine is high. You know, that's not what we're going to talk about, though. the Blight Cabin has its power score increased from 1500 to 1800. Yeah, it's just to even out the field there, sort of. And then the Augur has its... I don't really understand what they have done to it exactly, but improved physical model of augurs and their adhesion to armored vehicles. Now they deal damage to vehicles below them. So basically, if you are on top of someone, you will deal damage, but I am quite sure that you did that before as well. So I'm not sure if it was just a bug that it happened sometime. Another thing that is actually happening now is that non-steering wheels will to some extent be more viable. Let me just find one of my builds here, because of the fact that now non-steering wheels will actually take half the power compared to before. And this has meant quite a lot to some of my builds. Just a random build like this art build here is super fast now because of the fact that the wheels take up less power if it's non-steering. So this is definitely something that you will feel if you are running big bricks with a couple of non-steering wheels on them. Then this should definitely please you. The studded wheels, the Luna and the gun mount wheels have all had their durability increased by a little bit, and to compensate for that, the mass and the power score has been increased on some of them. And that's pretty much what we have for this test. Also, don't be alarmed about this. They have added a penalty for being overweight now. This is why I'm taking damage right now. Very important to say, the wedge changes are not here right now. It is by no means because I'm getting wedged or anything I'm taking damage, but I am overweight, and they took the wedge, the damage that you receive from wedging people. They have taken this and made it a penalty when you are overweight. Now this could potentially be dangerous if you play Clan Wars and you get your engine sniped by a scorpion. Well, then you're done, basically, because you'll take damage unless you hurry in there and make sure that you actually have some parts taken off so that you won't be overweight anymore. So kind of funny to see that they have added this. I think it's good. It's a bit more realistic that if you hit the weight limit, well, then your wheels kind of break slowly. The damage here is quite low, so it will take forever. I have 6 on here, so 6 divided by 11, it's just below 2 damage per tick per leg. So it's going to take forever for these to fall off nevertheless. So it's not really the end of the world. The reason that I brought up this build though is because they have also improved the visuals for some of these. For the Nova and the autocannon world, don't really see much change to the shield here though, so I don't know if it's something that we really want to bother with. And that's pretty much all there is for this patch. Super dope patch in my opinion. Let me know what you guys think about it down below. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, bye bye.